local teen self-published his book. It's called The Steal of Sapience, and he is here today to talk a little bit more about his book. So first of all, you were a teenager in high school when you did this book, and your mom tells me that that's because you weren't on social media. And I just want to say kudos to that, and what is your secret? Because look at all these things you can do without going on the internet and going on social media.
Well, I don't really want to give the internet a bad sort of rap here, because, you know, I would say that it's also a great source of information to do a bunch of research and figure out how you can get your book out there. But yeah, to be honest, so yes, the book is called The Steal of Sapience, and it's a fantasy novel, if you couldn't tell by the cover design. And I just have to give a quick shout out to my cover artist, Katie Ritchie. She is absolutely incredible at her craft. I mean, it's just like, it's something about it. It's just magical. But anyway, a brief synopsis over it. It would just be, it's about a cast of characters that go off in search of these long lost ancient weapons, which are titled the Sovereign Blades, and they get into trouble along the way. So, yeah.
What inspires you to do a fantasy book? I feel that you've really got to have a very creative and imaginative mind. You must go into some kind of writer's world to get to these interesting characters.
You know, there's not really too much of a secret, to be honest. It's kind of the way that my mind tends to work. I find myself daydreaming a lot, especially when I was in school. You know, I'd see myself going to these strange places, meeting strange, different kinds of people. And I would say that it always, like any sort of book, starts off with like a place in mind.
Yes.
And then from there, it starts off with characters within that place. And then from that, it's characters doing specific actions that lead to telling a story.
If someone at home is interested or thinking about picking up your book and reading, which of course they should because it was all made right here in Fargo, what kind of a reader would just absolutely like love this book?
Any kind. Any kind. I think there's always something that's you can easily take away from it. You know, it's, even though it is a fantasy novel and there is magic and there's lots of mythological creatures that you might find.
What about a phoenix? Is there a phoenix in it?
Well, you never know. You'll have to read it and find out.
Okay, so. maybe the series 2 we can add a phoenix in
but
there.
But I always tell people, you know, just because it's a fantasy novel, that I've written it in a way where you can easily closely relate to some of the characters and some of the struggles that they go through, and that you can find some sort of relation within your own life when you're reading this book. Because you tend to bleed and you tend to feel these sorts of emotions, like all different types of calibers with these characters along the way and their journey. So,
one other really cool thing is that this is a self-published book, meaning, what does that mean? I guess for people at home, there's the traditional way to have a book published and there's also self-published, but self-published sounds like that's a lot to it.
So self-publishing, if I could go into it a little bit, it's, well, the difference between traditional publishing, which you sign on with a company and they give you a whole bunch of resources at your disposal. Like they do a lot of the marketing, they do a lot of the editing for you, they give you your own cover art. Self-publishing, it's the do-it-yourself motion. The good thing about self-publishing nowadays is that you're able to have all these sorts of resources at your disposal whenever you go online and find all these different artists and all these editors and all these freelancers that are able to help you develop your book and shape it into what you want it to be. So the good thing about self-publishing is that you have a lot more choice in what you want your book to come out as.
That's awesome. I love that. And you are only, how old?
22.
22 years old. Already published. Well, yeah, that's amazing. I'm really proud of that. That's a lot.
Thank you.
we need to have like a best, you know, one of those series of best under 30. I think you're going to definitely make the top of the list if we have one of those going on here in town.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That means a lot.
Well, hopefully you can come back with your second book once you get that done.
Oh, absolutely.
You have a second book coming in the works?
Oh, I have more than just 2 and 3. Like, you know, I have plenty of ideas that I'd love to share. So.
Okay, well, don't forget us small people. We're going to become really famous after North Dakota Today. Well, stay with us. We have more North Dakota Day right after the break.